Okay, we are recording with Ben Perrin, otherwise known as BTC Sessions, who I thought his name was BTC Sessions when I first met him, as embarrassing as that is. But Ben, thank you for being here. I know you're traveling with the family, man, so we really appreciate this.
No worries. I'm glad to chat, and it's been far too long, my friend.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to talk to you about the Bitcoin price action because I know that's the top of everyone's mind right now. But before we started recording, you just told me you're traveling with a pull-up bar. Like, so no, you because I've thought about this sometimes. Like, I'd love to travel with a pull-up bar because sometimes you can get dumbbells and stuff.
Yeah.
But you have like a collapsible pull-up bar?
No, it's not collapsible. We're on a road trip, and we've got a big back end of our vehicle. So I shoved in some dumbbells, a pull-up bar, some resistance bands, and a handful of other things. And we've got a set like 3 workout per week kind of deal as we're on the road here.
So you're committed. So the pull-up bar is like one of those door frame ones or something?
Yeah, it's a door frame. Like you hook it on and it kind of uses the door frame. Yeah. And then we've got like some TRX bands that we can hang from it and do some cool stuff. So yeah.
Okay, because pull-up bars, for whatever reason, I'm fascinated by being able to travel with like a proper pull-up bar, and I've never found something. The ones over the door, sometimes it's kind of, unless you're doing a road trip like you're doing, hard to travel with if you're kind of flying around places. So I thought you had, this is the jet lag. So for everyone listening, I'm just coming back from a month-long vacation. I'm in serious jet lag mode. This is the jet lag. I thought you had some magical collapsible pull-up bar. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, if anybody knows of any, let me know because I'd love to put that on a flight.
Yeah, totally. And so I'm curious now, what is the plan for you? You just have always worked out? This is something your whole life you've done, or are you on some kind of new commitment right now?
Yeah, I mean, so I've, in my early 20s, I tried P90X for the first time. And so I'd done all those programs just kind of on my own accord. And then, kind of, got into the gym and started learning some stuff. Right now, actually, we myself and my wife, hired a personal trainer. Funny enough that I pay in Bitcoin. And so he trains us a few times a week. And we're on a road trip right now. So we have a pre-planned kind of set of workouts, and that's where we're bringing all the stuff. So we got to keep on top of it, even on the road.
Yeah, cool. I love it. All right. Because of the price action, I want to talk to you about this stuff. I'm going to talk to you about some technology stuff. Definitely want to talk about Bitcoin Mentor. But can we just start off with, where are your thoughts? I wasn't even planning to ask you this because for myself, the Bitcoin price, I guess now, I guess my journey is like, I'm over 4 years in, and I've kind of slowly moving past like monitoring the price day to day. But with the price action that was pretty serious, I would say this week, what's your thoughts? What's the Bitcoin price action looking like to you?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's par for the course, right? Whenever there is a large panic across the entire market, Bitcoin will dip with everything else initially. But there's a few major differences between Bitcoin and everything else. Now, one of the main reasons that Bitcoin can dip so much is because it's one of the most easily accessed liquid assets that people have, right? So when you're when you're over leveraged and you're getting margin called and you need to cover all your bases, you're going to grab whatever liquid assets you have to try and cover what's going on with your situation. And, Bitcoin is 24/7, 365. It never shuts down. And one of the important lessons here is that we saw people locked out of their trading accounts. You saw legacy financial systems just say, oh, you want to sell? Yeah, you're not allowed. You can't log in right now. Absolutely not. Whereas Bitcoin, if you actually hold real Bitcoin and you self-custody, then you have access to that no matter what. And there's no stopping it. There's no shutting it down. But in some cases, some people, were in situations where they had to sell Bitcoin because of the panic. And so it makes sense that it would dip like that. The nice thing about it never being shut down and having number one, you can always access that money. But number two, Bitcoin tends to get the Band-Aid ripped off quicker than the rest of the market. And so we kind of saw this. If people go back and look at some charts, take a look at the initial panic in 2020. Bitcoin back then, everybody panicked, and Bitcoin got chopped in half overnight. But what happened a year later? We're looking at new all-time highs, right?
Yeah, that's when in March 2020, that's when it dropped to like 3K or 3.5K or something around that.
Yeah. So, sorry, Tom.
No, I'll let you get your voice there. I'm just going to chime in while you're getting some water there. I think you're hitting on the biggest point that took me a long time to learn is that if an individual or corporate entity, investment firm, whatever it is getting some kind of margin call because the market's not going their way, sometimes you sell your best assets because those are the only assets that have a liquid market at the time. And with Bitcoin being 24/7, it might not be the asset you want to sell. But if you have to get out of a jam, you're selling your best stuff. Your other assets that aren't quite as valuable, you might have a difficult time selling. You can't sell them if you wanted to. So Bitcoin can get affected in these markets, not because in and of itself there's anything going wrong with Bitcoin. It's that it's just a great asset that has a very liquid, pretty deep market now that you can access at any time.
Yeah. Again, like that panic of 2020 was such a unique opportunity because, again, the speed of that crash, of it going, being chopped in half, and at the time, 4,000, I'm talking US dollar prices, $4,000 Bitcoin. By summer, like a month later, it was 10 again. By the end of the year, it was getting into
Crazy.
the 20s. And then by springtime, we were hitting all-time highs, $60,000. So some people that had some liquid cash were able to scoop up $4,000 Bitcoin and inside of a calendar year see the same Bitcoin that they bought for $4,000 sitting at 65K.
You know what baffles me with Bitcoin that I never really realized until I understood Bitcoin and was able to custody Bitcoin? I never understood that all other financial assets really, I was just getting price exposure to. So for example, if I bought some Apple stock through my online bank trading account, I was getting price exposure to it. But the moment I needed it, if they shut down access, like you just mentioned, if they shut down access because of a banking panic, and let's say they shut down access for 5 days in the name of financial safety, like, Ben, hey, we need to shut down everything for your financial safety. Well, if they inflate the currency or debase the currency in those 5 days and have to liquidate some stocks, I might be liquidated out of my Apple stock into dollars, US, Canadian, whatever it's going to be. And by the time I get those dollars into my hands, who knows what the value of those dollars is going to be. So really my investments in almost everything else I own, I'm really just getting price exposure. I'm not holding any asset of real value for anything. And I think it took Bitcoin for me to truly understand. I didn't quite associate, even though I was telling people take custody, I didn't quite understand the value of holding custody yourself directly.
Yeah, Bitcoin is the ultimate sovereignty play when it comes to storing the fruits of your labor, right? It's a sovereignty play akin to something like gold, but with the freedom of transaction on a global scale turns straight to 11, right? Like, if you have physical gold, absolutely you own that is yours. But it can be difficult to, secure in a good location. It can be difficult to move it over long distances. So that, there's that physicality to it that, a lot of people, gold bugs, will lean towards and lean into hard sometimes, which becomes a bit of a hurdle to get over when trying to understand Bitcoin. But the lack of physicality, once you understand that you don't need physicality to have sound money, and a global network that is accessible and censorship resistant, and that actually holds value. Once you can get over that physicality hurdle, again, it's so freeing to have access to that type of value, to that type of tool that can give you that sovereignty. It's an absolute game changer.
Once you really get it, it's completely mind blowing. This summer we were in Florence, and my brother's family was there too, and we were walking past one of those money exchange places, where they're taking your Canadian dollars, your American dollars for euros, and we were kind of laughing. I think the Canadian dollar exchange rate, this was obscene. It was so brutal. I think it was $1.71 for a euro, which was even worse than the Canadian bank exchange rate, right? But just seeing that number, as a Bitcoiner, that's just like everything you need to know. But they were proudly displaying at the bottom that they're the first money exchange in Italy to take Bitcoin. Huh, so nice. We immediately walk up because we're like, what's happening here? And it is a KYC thing. You do have to give your driver's license and stuff. But the lady working there is like, yeah, I have a Bitcoin wallet. You send me the Bitcoin. We'll have to wait a certain amount of minutes. So you could see that she understood what was going on. That's great. And then I'll be able to give you euros. Yeah. And my mind was completely blown because this wasn't just a peer-to-peer thing. Like I always knew if I needed to somewhere in Italy, I'm going to be able to exchange my Bitcoin for some euros. Like I'm going to figure that out. I'm not concerned about that at all. But now here's just like a mainstream money exchange place advertising proudly. They're the first in Italy to do this. And you can walk. And I was just thinking, holy smokes, if I had family traveling somewhere in Italy, I can now just send them some Bitcoin. They can change that into spendable euros if they needed to on the streets. So use Bitcoin as your store of value in this case. If you're not using it as a medium of exchange in that moment, you needed euros perhaps for a medium of exchange, fine. Yeah. We can now do that in real time with small bits of Bitcoin. Like how mind-blowing is that?
Yeah, it's funny. I've traveled a lot, and even in my early days of being exposed to Bitcoin, I ran across it much more often than I would think. And one of the wildest places that I ran across it was I just spent 2 days in a longboat sailing down the Mekong River in Laos. And I got to a city called Luang Prabang, and there was this cool little shop set up, not shop, but like a cafe / restaurant bar type thing. And I'm in there. And we're hanging out, and my wife runs over from the bar, and she's like, "You're never going to believe this. This is in 2016, by the way. You're never going to believe this. The bar accepts Bitcoin." I was like, "No way." So I rush over, and I ask the staff about it, and they get the guy who owns the bar out, and he starts chatting to me. Lo and behold, I find out he's actually from Canada. He had lived in Calgary prior, and then he's like, yeah, I figured I'd put it up and see who wanted to pay. So I ended up paying in Bitcoin. But the thing that really helped was in Laos, all of the ATMs, they have limits on how much you can take out per transaction. The exchange rate is horrid. And every time that you use the ATM, they were charging, if you were taking out US dollars, which was what everybody wanted over there, they charged you $25 per transaction to take it out. When combined with the horrible exchange rate. So I wanted to get out like $400 to make it for the next however many days. And it was going to cost me like 50 or $75. The guy was like, I'll just swap you out for US dollars here for Bitcoin at whatever the current rate is. And so I just did the currency exchange right there and got the US dollars that I needed on the ground. Again, this is 2016. So
I can't believe
it's gotten a lot more accessible.
And just so you're just kind of making me think now, when did you get into Bitcoin? If that was 2016, you were when? Yeah. Have I ever asked you that before? I don't know. What year did you get into this?
Yeah. So I started learning in 2014.
Wow.
And then 2016, at the time when that story happened, I was in my first 2 months of running my YouTube channel. Actually, I had just started the YouTube channel, creating educational videos, a few months prior.
With like probably 6 subscribers, of which you were all 6 with different email addresses. Now I just checked. I swear you just mentioned not too long ago you crossed over 100,000. You're over like 300,000 now?
Yeah.
Like, is it like YouTube just turned on the, I guess, the fire hose to you?
So there was a definite snowball for a few things, but yeah, like it started ramping up just pre 100K as it ticked over. There were also a few videos, a few tutorial videos that just kind of, I guess, struck a nerve or something, and a bunch of people piled in. There were a few videos that got a ton of viewership that helped kind of funnel. So, it's always hit and miss. And, sometimes I'm getting throttled and other times I'm getting a nice influx of people. So, but yeah, it's been a wild year for sure.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And so, Ben, just back on the price action then. So you've seen this before. It comes down. You discuss some of the reasons the Bitcoin price can behave the way it does. And then now going forward, you're just unaffected and you think it's going to do what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is coming from somebody who earns and lives on Bitcoin for the past 4 years. I'm unaffected. Yes, I see it go up and down. Like I have my savings that are sitting there, and I recognize, yes, those savings, the purchasing power compared to last week is diminished, but I don't need immediate access to it. I'm spending less than I earn, and I'm putting away Bitcoin on the side as my savings as well. And so, yeah, it's going to do what it's going to do. We just had a halving. We've still got the ETFs going. We've got a ton of interest. I'm not at all, I've been around the block. I'm not flinching at,
Sure.
Yeah,
we both know what's happening, what's going to happen with global liquidity over the next 12 months, or we can at least guess what that then does to Bitcoin, the whole thing. Because you're living off it, are you ever tempted with some of the newer technologies, like I think it's with Aqua Wallet, and you can just so easily flip into like USD Tether. And I'm not trying to make a promotion for it. I don't really know much about it. I'm just saying when I got the Aqua Wallet, I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like it has savings in Bitcoin. And then I think it says spending, and then it's like USD Tether and Liquid Lightning kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of pretty wild. If you wanted to, for whatever reason, you could take $100, $500, flip it into USD Tether, depending on what you're doing. Because you're living off it, you're earning in Bitcoin and living off it. Are you ever tempted to do that kind of stuff where you keep a little bit of your purchasing power in maybe the US dollar now that some of the technology is allowing you to do it so easily? Or no, it's Bitcoin and nothing, and don't really need to do that?
Yeah, I'm more or less at the point where I don't really feel need to do it anymore. What I do, I send out my invoices at the beginning of the month, and as they come in, I make sure that all my bills are paid. So as soon as they come in, I'm not like waiting to see if Bitcoin will go up before I pay my bills. No, it's like, okay, it comes in, I immediately, like at the exact dollar rate that I received it at, all of my bills get paid. And then everything else remains in Bitcoin. And so what that does for me is I recognize the value of my savings. And so everything thereafter, for the most part, should be savings. Like I know how much I'm going to spend throughout the month on certain things, and I try and get that all out of the way immediately. But every purchase thereafter is, I scrutinize it more, because I'm spending Bitcoin that I have that could be going in savings. So it becomes a bit more of okay, do I need this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll spend some more of the Bitcoin. But it makes you a bit more conscious about how you spend your money when your money is actually worth something in the long term. When you're actually saying, the purchasing power of this, while volatile in the short term, will continue to appreciate over extended periods of time. So you begin to ask yourself if your spending habits are good or not. It funnels you towards being more fiscally responsible. As odd as that may seem, hearing somebody that's living on Bitcoin, which seems to a lot of the public to be a speculative asset. Yeah. But for me, it's not. I'm treating it as sound money, and I understand that, yes, it can go up and down in the short term, but over the long term, it's completely finite. And I believe that over time, more and more people will use it. And so I'm incentivized to save as much as I can. And furthermore, when I do spend money on something, I'm actually more likely to buy the more expensive, higher quality item that will last me forever instead of the trinkety garbage that will break that I then have to replace. I don't
Did you
want to
notice that shift in consciousness or decision making?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
that an immediate? Was that immediate over time?
Over time for sure, and obviously because you're kind of as you begin to kind of understand more about what Bitcoin actually is. Again, everybody's when the money itself, when the, and I'm talking about fiat currency, dollar, when the money itself doesn't give you the security of maintaining the fruits of your labor that you would expect, where you're forced into investing. When the money fails to do that, a lot of people get into a mindset of I've got to gamble in order to hope to make it to retirement, right? And this is where you see like the meme stocks and the broader crypto ecosystem,
Sure.
right? Like there's Bitcoin and then there's everything else, and all the crypto stuff, that's a further symptom of kind of our fiat upbringing, that we've been in a world where our money just doesn't function. So like, you get the Gen Zs where they're like, I'm never going to own a home. I couldn't even hope to save up the down payment. So I guess the only option that I possibly could have is I'm going to gamble. And that could come in the form of meme stocks, in the form of gambling, or just doom spending on whatever and never owning anything, So like that's kind of, but Bitcoin is it's very much the opposite. It's a return to, you can gain a skill and provide value for others, spend less than you earn, and save in a money that is finite and sound and that nobody else can print for free.
And I would say that by you doing that for your family, we have a more stable family unit that is providing value to the community, and people can feel that. Like, I know someone hearing me say that might sound like ridiculous. Yeah. But I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah. That like, you are not only a sovereign individual in the way you're behaving with your money here, it's also affecting the security of your family and the way you interact with the rest of the world. And if we can get more people doing what you're doing and living in the way you are living, we have a better world because of it.
Yeah, you're incentivized to think long term, because you actually can foresee long term, because you can save for the future. You can, look at the contrast.
Sounds so obvious, right? Sounds so obvious.
Yeah, like look at the contrast. Look at the younger generation right now. Like I just mentioned doom spending, but none of them, like, first of all, none of them are planning on saving or owning homes or anything like that, or very few, and even less of them want to have families. Because they're sitting there going, if I can't support myself, how in the hell could I ever hope to get married and have kids? And so you see this drop off in the birth rate, because the money has corrupted the very idea of having kids and growing up in with your spouse in a house full of children. It's just not, monetarily speaking, fiscally speaking, it's just not on the table for people who have just seen their lifestyles get decimated, over the past few decades, but especially since 2020 and the absolute obscene amount of money printing that we've seen.
And there's other things, like we speak to real estate developers all the time, and real estate developers have really struggled to plan for new projects because the cost of money is so volatile. If you have a project that is 2 or 3 years long, you have to go through a zoning request. You have to plan what's going to be the cost of labor, what's going to be the cost of capital, what price am I selling these units for, what can people afford to pay? Yeah. When you can't plan accurately like that, how do you just build a 3-year project for housing for the citizens of the country that you're in?
Yeah.
So like there's all these things that with a volatile money in a fiat system that people don't recognize are a major problem. And they try to solve some of those things in the real estate world by, let's change some zoning, some zoning strategies, or let's make some tax deductible tax deductions available for contracting work you might put into your house, or they kind of just trying to put band-aids on all this stuff, where the main problem is that you can't forecast, you can't think long term, so you can't even build out a project, never mind like a 50-year cathedral. I'm talking about like a 3-year condo project is very difficult in this time in Canada right now. Many medium-sized developers, maybe not the large ones, but the medium-sized developers that we speak to with are just straight up struggling with projects that they don't know how to bring to market because they don't know the inflation rate 24 months from now. They don't know the interest rates 24 months from now.
Yeah.
So we all talk about the symptoms. The main problem is the money, but everyone's kind of focused and running around about like trying to figure out the symptoms and how to solve those symptoms.
Yeah, all of this, it's just the money and the interest rates, like the inflation, the amount of base money that exists, the interest rates. These are all buttons and levers that a very select group of people get to pull. And what Bitcoin does is it removes all of those buttons and levers and just says, here are the rules. Here's how the money works. And then everybody
adjust.
Everybody knows how it works. Everybody knows exactly the issuance of the currency. Everybody knows exactly how the money functions. And so there's no guesswork of like, I wonder what the head of the Bank of Canada is going to come out and say. Like the people are going to look back decades from now and see the analysis of, during the speech from the head of this central bank, they used this term and this term. And we think that denotes that they're turning hawkish or dovish people are going to see that society tried to read the tea leaves based on what they thought the money was going to do. And they're going to look and say, that was insane. Why didn't they just use the system where they all knew the rules and nobody was going to surprise them by changing course or make a bad decision? Just like the money works like this and society works around how the rules are set up.
I don't know how much thought you give to this, but with some of the, and I'm going to ask about some of the favorite technology you're looking at in a whole bunch of different categories, but with some of the advancements and the ability to hold some of these stable coins and some of these wallets, do you think that's somehow a weird threat into the development of the Bitcoin ecosystem? And how much attention do you think we need to be paying to that? Or is it just, no, Bitcoin's going to do what it does, that's kind of irrelevant?
I know there are some that worry about the stablecoin environment and see that as a way to try and I suppose financialize Bitcoin and try to tame it in some way or get people to move to a digital, effectively a central bank digital currency, but corporatized, I suppose, instead. But, there would still be controls in and around that via regulation. I've just really never had an interest in stablecoins, given that, especially living in a Western nation, I'm as lucky as you can be to live in a place where the currency isn't actively hyperinflating, right? Like the currency has its problems. And to the point where I don't want to use it anymore. But at the same time, like if I had to, I'm not rushing to the store to get my groceries because they're going to be higher by this evening. It's not as bad as it is in other places. So yeah, like for myself, I just have a lack of interest in them. I think for people in countries where hyperinflation is a real threat, they see value in them for that reason, where they can hold a stable value. But make no mistake, at the end of the day, holding Bitcoin is holding the actual asset itself. Holding a stable coin is just another layer of counterparty risk on the dollar itself. And what I mean by that is, when you have dollars that are in a bank account, those dollars aren't technically yours. They are property of the banks. They can at any point kind of rug pull you. You can lose access to them, so on and so forth. We saw this in Canada before, obviously. When you add in the layer of a stable coin, those are dollars in somebody else's bank account that they have created a token that represents those dollars in a bank account somewhere, that you are then allowed. Now, this allows you to move those dollars around instantly around the globe at any point, but stable coins can be frozen, and the peg from those stable coins to the dollars that represent them can be broken as well. There's certain stable coins that have not seen those pegs broken in any meaningful way through their existence, and then there's others that absolutely have. So just know that just because you have a stable coin doesn't necessarily mean that you have the dollars, and you're still subject to the inflation of the dollar, but also the bank account that holds the dollars, and whether or not you'll ever be able to redeem them for real ones.
Before I rapid fire you through some of your favorite stuff, what's some of the latest technology you've been reviewing or making videos about that's just catching your attention right now? Is there something standing out? And I know you do so much, so I don't even know where to begin with that, but it just is anything catching your attention right now?
Yeah. So in terms of day-to-day wallets, I really quite like, you mentioned it before, Aqua Wallet. And it's the reason I like it is because they've done something there where, for those unfamiliar, there's different ways of transacting on Bitcoin. Much like you can with dollars, you could have dollars as cash, you could have a debit card or a MasterCard or Visa, or you could have like a gift card, but it's all representing dollars. And same with Bitcoin. There's different ways you can transact on Bitcoin. The most secure being the equivalent of cash in hand is a regular on-chain Bitcoin transaction is what it's referred to. But then you can also use networks that allow you faster and cheaper transactions that perhaps give you some more privacy in certain respects, that basically just allow, with some trade-offs, some additional features. And so what Aqua Wallet has done is they say, your regular Bitcoin transactions, that is your savings wallet. And that's typically, I think, the way that regular Bitcoin transactions should be thought of. They're a little bit slower. They can be a little bit more expensive at times, depending on how busy the network is. But for moving larger amounts of cash and sitting them there, then regular Bitcoin transactions are great. So,
and I love the way they label that like savings. I don't know why. It's a small thing, but I just love it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. So you've got your savings account, and then just below that you have spending. And this spending account, well, I won't get into the technicals of it. It utilizes two different networks, one called Liquid Network and one called the Lightning Network. And it does it in a really clever way where you can interoperate between two of them. It's kind of like if you think of going up to a point of sale machine and they say Visa or MasterCard. But it doesn't matter which one you tap, it'll just work. Same thing with this. You can use Lightning or Liquid. Your wallet will just know what to do. You scan a QR code to go send a transaction. It'll just know what to do. But it uses them seamlessly to allow you to do cheap, instant transactions in your wallet. And you can actually swap from your savings wallet to your spending wallet and vice versa. There's a little button, and it's kind of like moving money, as you would think, from your savings account to your checking account. You're just moving it in between and then being able to spend instantly, quickly.
It's the first app that made me think like, oh my gosh, this is like an online bank, like the old school fiat online bank accounts. I'm like, this is looking, and Bitcoin's turning into like the modern bank account, because I have my savings account, and then I have, the first time I used it was in Bedford at Peter McCormick's conference. And and then we were buying like an espresso at the little coffee shop next door. And I used the Aqua wallet. It did take a bit longer, I'm not gonna lie, because I was using Wallet of Satoshi, and they're like, it was just like instant. This one did take, if I had to time it, I would say between 15 and 20 seconds. That doesn't sound that long, but when you're used to like an instant Lightning transaction, it did feel like, whoa, is this like working? But it did work. Like it worked beautifully, had no problem with it. So it was super cool. Could you explain to everyone why it might be taking a little bit longer?
Yeah. So in the background in Aqua Wallet, your spending wallet is using something called the Liquid network. And the main differences between regular Bitcoin transactions versus Liquid versus Lightning. Regular Bitcoin transactions settle on average every 10 minutes. And they can be, when the network gets busy, they can be very expensive. Like even when it's cheap right now, it's still going to cost you 50, 75 cents to send a transaction. When it gets really busy, it might be 10 or 20 bucks or more. So you don't want to be moving small amounts. Liquid network, and this is what Aqua uses natively, is everything is fully settled within 1 minute. And with that, your transaction fee is going to be a lot less. So maybe a few cents max. And on top of that, you also get some additional privacy assurances, meaning that on the outside looking in, nobody can tell the amount that's being spent. And also, actually, they can't tell the asset that is being transacted, because on Liquid, you can use Liquid Bitcoin or just Bitcoin, or you can do a stable coin or different other kind of assets can be transacted on it. So nobody can tell exactly what was done there. And then with Lightning, it's basically instant. It's quick, super cheap, and very, very fast to settle entirely. So when you hit that send button, boom, boom, you just kind of see it go. But there are some benefits to Liquid versus Lightning in different ways. Lightning, to hold it yourself entirely, can take a little bit to set up sometimes and can incur some fees in getting properly set up. Not exorbitant, but it can take a bit of time for a newcomer that may be a little bit complex. With Aqua, because of the way it works in the background, you don't have to worry about that setup, those additional fees. You can just start sending and receiving instantly, and you don't have to worry about anything.
So when I move in the Aqua wallet, when I move some Bitcoin into that spending account that says, Liquid Lightning, am I actually holding that in Liquid? Yes. And if I'm spending it, if I'm then tapping or to make a Lightning transaction, it's taking it from the Liquid protocol. Correct me if I'm not speaking properly here, and then changing it into a Lightning transaction kind of on the fly. That's what's happening there. And that's allowing me to custody that myself in that wallet.
Exactly.
So there is benefit there that I'm able to custody it until I need to use it. Just the transaction time might be a little longer.
Yeah. So you're right. What it's doing is there's a function in the back end that allows it to say, oh, you're trying to send to a Lightning wallet. I'm holding Liquid Bitcoin, and we're going to do a swap in the background that allows that to work. Just as somebody that is a merchant, maybe at the end of the day, they want to have dollars in their checking account, and you're tapping with a MasterCard, which is just, a debt created by, debt that allows you to spend, even though it's not dollars from your bank account, it will eventually make its way to the other person's bank account. Or if you're using a US dollar denominated card in a country that doesn't use US dollars, all of that happens in the background automatically. It just gets sorted out, but they get their local currency. Same thing is happening in the back end with this Liquid to Lightning swap function, where it gets worked out. You don't need to worry about
Sure. Yeah. I absolutely just loved it. I can't believe in 4 years, which I guess maybe seems like a long time for some people, but to see where some of this technology's come from 4 years ago to now with that wallet, it's just mind blowing to me. Like I show everybody that Aqua wallet. To me, it's I just love it.
They're going in the right direction for sure. I'm really happy.
Okay, you think so as well? Okay,
and they've also been very I've because I do a lot of videos and stuff, and so I've been suggesting certain things, and they've actually been super receptive and actually implemented a few things that I said, I'd love this feature, and then they put it in. I was pretty happy about it. So
cool. Okay, because I think the other day I heard you talking about a feature on the Aqua wallet. I can't even remember what it was because I remember thinking, that's a little bit beyond me. I need to look into what Ben's talking about there.
It was.
I forget what it was.
It was so right now, if you want to, if you have a regular Bitcoin somewhere on an exchange or in a hardware wallet that you're saving away, and you want to put into Aqua Wallet for easy spending, normally you would have to send it into Aqua Wallet. It would still be regular Bitcoin. Then you would have to hit the swap button to swap it into your spending wallet.
Yeah.
Now you can turn a little toggle switch that allows you to send it in as regular Bitcoin, and it'll swap on the way in to your spending wallet. So you don't have to do the extra step.
Oh, got it. Cool. Okay. So, and then you save on some small amount of fees there because you're not doing. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. So then, you know what? I want to ask you then, I'm just going to run through this and I'm just going to tell you the list so you know how long this is. It's like one of the hot wallets you want to call out. Maybe it's just Aqua, a Lightning wallet, a hardware wallet, Node software, any home mining, anything, multi-sig solution, and bill payment software. So we'll just start. We could just start.
All right, let's start from the top there. Okay.
Yeah. So we could go quickly. I know that's a lot. I just want to get some names out there. Some stuff it doesn't have to be your favorite because I know you're very influential right now. So
so for the hot wallet,
that's capturing your attention. Yeah.
So for the hot wallet, let's go with Aqua because that one is a great, and I don't want to bog people down with too many options. So Aqua is a great place to start. What else you mentioned?
Lightning wallet.
So I'd say still Aqua. I'd say still stick with that. Just in terms of keeping this, not bogging people down with too many things. We already discussed it a bunch. Aqua is an easy way to go.
Hardware wallet.
Hardware. Okay, so I'm gonna give two options. One is my favorite secure daily driver. The other is a good foray into hardware with a cheap device that is easy to use and hold on to. So I really like the Cold Card Q. The Cold Card Q is like kind of like, this is your savings. You want to treat it well. You want to keep it super secure. Basically, the thing looks like a BlackBerry. It's got a big screen on it. It's got a full, it's got the full keyboard and everything. But it's pretty badass and it's super secure. You can use it. You can use it in a simple manner where you can just plug it right into your computer. You have a pin on it, and you can approve a transaction. You can use it simply, but it can also be used as a learning tool to begin to level up and learn some of the more intricate nuts and bolts. So I've kind of done videos on different ways that you can use it. So that's my daily driver for hardware. But as a simple foray into hardware, check out the Tap Signer. It's basically a card. It looks like a credit card or a room key for a hotel. It's a little tap card. And the way it works is if you have normal, a hot wallet on your phone, your Bitcoin is only as secure as the phone itself. So if somebody gets a hold of your phone and gets into it, they might get access. Or if your phone gets malware on it, maybe somebody might get access. What this does is you can see your balance on your phone. You can say, I would like to send Bitcoin out of my wallet to this wallet or to this address. And then when you go to do that, it will say, okay, put in the PIN for your card. Your card will have a special PIN. And then once you've done that, it'll say, tap your card to the back of your phone, like an NFC tap. And that allows you to spend. So what that functionally does is if somebody steals your phone and they get into it, they can't spend your Bitcoin. If somebody steals your card and they get it, they can't spend your Bitcoin because they don't have the PIN. So it gives you layers of security when you're on the go. And that's a pretty good first experience for securing Bitcoin.
Cool. Okay. So Node software, running a Bitcoin node, any favorite or something that's catching your attention?
So I'll tell you what I'm using right now, and then I'll tell you another popular one that a lot of people use. So I use something called Start9. This is a little box. It just sits on your shelf, and you plug it into your router and you plug it into the wall, and then you just go on any computer on the same network in your home, and it'll tell you to type in a website, and it'll just pop up, and you can download some apps and start using it as a node. So Start9 I like because they're designing it in a very cypherpunk way, and they're designing it to be censorship resistant in a lot of different respects. I really like what they're doing. Now, some people, want something that looks very, very pretty, and the equivalent looks like an iPad, like you've got your apps and everything, and like a nice clean app store and everything. And you don't have too many additional menus and options and all that. So a lot of people will gravitate towards something called Umbrel, and they've done an excellent job of making the interface very sleek and very simple to it looks just like using an iPad. You go to the app store, you download whatever you want, and it looks great. There's been certain trade-offs security wise to do that. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I don't think like the decentralization of it isn't there, but again, as like software in a box, it works great. So I'd say one of those two is going to do you just well. There's some other options out there, but those are the two that I'll mainly mention.
Home miners, any type of home mining stuff. I feel like there's been a lot of new stuff.
Yeah. So what I'll say is, if you're mining at home, don't expect to make money.
Sure. But didn't someone just, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the cheapest and quickest way to get into home mining as a curiosity, as a learning tool, there is a project called BitAxe, BITAXE. And so what they've done is they've created these little devices that are, they're like this large, and they have a Bitcoin mining ASIC chip in them, and you plug it in, it emits a little Wi-Fi signal, and you connect to it, and it allows you to set up everything, and you can start mining right away, and you can do it one of two ways. Way number one is you can link it to a mining pool that pays you out every single day via Lightning. And so you'd get however many sats a day. And again, don't expect to be turning a profit, but with one of these little devices, you're not spending much on it. I think they're like $150, $200, something like that. And you're not going to be making money back, but you're not losing money on the power really, because it's not using much power at all. So that's way number one of using it, is getting paid out a little bit to your Lightning wallet every single day. Way number two is to treat it as a forever lottery ticket. And what I mean is, rather than joining into a pool, which is the equivalent of a lottery pool where everybody pays a certain amount for X number of tickets, and based on how many you bought, that's how you would split the winnings if you won. Well, with this, you would basically be going solo, and you'd be mining. And if by chance you hit a block, you win the mining reward, you would be rewarded, at the time of recording this interview, you'd be rewarded with 3.125 Bitcoin, all on your own. Now, the chances of doing that are slim, slightly better than the regular lottery though. And
someone just hit it, no?
Somebody just did, with one of those little $200 machines. They hit a block and they got about $200,000 off their $200 machine.
Wild. Multi-sig solutions.
Yes. Okay. So there's a number of cool ones that I'm going to mention, and this is in no ways a one size fits all, but I'm going to mention a few. So a couple of the big ones that people defer to that are pretty recognizable would be Unchained Capital and Casa. Those guys have been around for a long time, and so these you can sign up with their service. You pay a yearly fee, and they have services that can help onboard you and everything like that. You choose your devices, and effectively they hold a key. You hold a few keys depending on the service. And if you start losing things, they can be the one to step in and help you move your money. So those guys have been around. They both work just great. Out of the two, I lean towards Unchained. I just kind of like the way that they're set up a little bit better. There's a few just kind of personal choices in and around that, but some people love Casa. When it comes to mobile options for multi-sig, there is Nunchuck. I've done lots of videos on. They've got like a whole inheritance plan with their multi-sig and everything too, which is really cool. A new one that I've been playing with quite a bit is Keeper. So Keeper is another mobile multi-sig app. I really like the way that they do things in terms of restoring on other devices. It keeps all of the information so that you can just log into another device with a regular seed phrase. Like you write down your 12 or 24 words. All you need are your words on any device. You log in and it has everything, which is really cool. It's not something I've seen elsewhere. And they have a lot of support for a lot of different hardware. There are a couple others that I haven't played with. Thea, Liana. There's others, but those are kind of the main ones that I've used. Nunchuck, Keeper, Unchained, and Casa are kind of the ones that are top of mind for me.
Okay, and then you mentioned you're making bill payments because you're basically on a Bitcoin standard.
Yes.
What is there a bill payment solutions that you use that you can share or that you like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so within Canada, one that I've been using a lot more lately, there's one called Bitcoin Well. And funny enough, this is actually, this is a guy I've known for years. Back in 2014, when I first got into Bitcoin, he's one of the first people that I ever met. And he also, he was also one of my first Bitcoin jobs. I was helping him with his Bitcoin ATMs. His name is Adam O'Brien, and he runs a company called Bitcoin Well. And yeah, so basically you can go in, you can say, I want to pay whatever bill, a credit card bill,
utility bill,
really anything, any major Canadian biller is going to be there. So you plug in your account number, you say how much you want to pay, and then it'll say, here, send this much Bitcoin to this spot here, and you can pay your bills. What they've done is kind of interesting in that you can use Lightning to pay your bills, but you can actually label it in a way where you have a special Lightning address. So a Lightning address looks like an email address, but it can be labeled in a way that from any Lightning wallet, you can say send to this Lightning address, and it'll be username at Bitcoin Well,
cool.
Whatever dot the name of your bill.
That's awesome.
And so without logging in whatsoever, you can just send a transaction to that Lightning address, and it will pay that bill.
Oh, that's wild.
So just in a Lightning wallet, you just say, I'm going to send $100 to this Lightning address. In the background, it just pays the bill.
And are there any US ones?
In the US, it's a little bit trickier. I'm not positive. So you would have to take a look. I believe Fold is now diving into this. So Fold has been around for a long time. They are starting to do that. I don't think Bitcoin Well has that down there yet. I think that's on the roadmap, but I know Fold is diving into that realm. So you'd have to take a little bit closer look there. And then I don't want to not mention in Canada as well, Bull Bitcoin. They've been around the block forever, and they were originally still on the website is referred to as Bills, BYLLS, but Bull Bitcoin, you can pay any Canadian bill, and I've also been using them forever. Francis Pouliot, awesome guy, the whole team, they're incredible. So I love those guys too. And
they're great guys. And I think that's like the bill payment stuff, I think is probably the most underappreciated thing in the Bitcoin world right now for most people. I don't think people understand you can do that.
Yeah.
So
no, not at all. You can fully, like I said, I've been living on Bitcoins for 4 years.
Okay. And then, so how are you buying are you doing some gift card stuff? And is there a gift card solution that you like?
Yeah, so I've been doing a mix of things. So I've been using like Bitcoin Well, Bull Bitcoin for bill payment, all that kind of stuff. In a lot of situations where there may not be an easy solution, I can use a credit card still, and then I can pay off the credit card with one of those solutions. Right?
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So that's another thing. For gas and groceries, a lot of the time I will use Bit Refill, BITREFILL. And so you can buy gift cards with Lightning instantly. So I'll literally be in line at the supermarket with my groceries, and I'll go on my phone, tap, 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 send. And then I've got a $300 gift card by the time I get up, and they scan all my groceries. I just hold up my phone and they scan the barcode and I paid. So it's super simple and quick. And then the other thing that I'm doing is in Calgary, we started putting together a circular economy, a market. Mm-hmm. And so I now, twice a year now, we're doing a big market where we get together a whole bunch of different merchants, farmers, tradesmen, all kinds of different barbers, all these different stuff. And so I now have like a Rolodex of, the other day my kid shoved a toy down the toilet. I called up my plumber who accepts Bitcoin. I have my personal trainer come to the house 3 days a week who accepts Bitcoin. I have my barber who accepts Bitcoin. So I'm actually using Bitcoin peer-to-peer as well.
Awesome. And and then now I just want to transition to what you're doing with Bitcoin Mentor. Yes. So how did this start? This is, to me, it's a pretty big undertaking that you're deciding to commit to here. So what's the deal with Bitcoin Mentor? I know it's still fairly new. We're excited to support Bitcoin Mentor just because I know the need for getting people knowledge in this area seems like it's growing rapidly and it's really needed. Yeah. But can you talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bitcoin Mentor, I co-founded with Mike Cook here in Calgary. And so effectively, for a long time, I was doing one-on-one educational sessions with people. So I've got a ton, like years and years of free tutorials online. But some people, even with the tutorials, it can be intimidating sometimes, as you're trying to learn. And I think a lot of it is just...
I booked you. I don't know if you remember. I booked you once for a private consultation because I had some questions and I'm like, how do I do this? I can't figure out this video. I just need to talk to them.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's a common thing where, people, it's new and people really are worried about potential consequences of screwing up. And I will say that, for the most part, if you're generally getting it, you're probably safe. But a lot of people, they just really especially that first run through, they want somebody there saying,
once you get it, you realize like how, I don't want to say easy, but you're like, oh, like this is how it works. Like it's pretty straightforward. It would be like teaching someone to write a check for the first time. Like you have to put the date here, you write the name here, and you write this out. And it seems you record the check number here and you put it, and it seems all complicated, but after you do a couple, it's totally fine. Bitcoin's a lot like that. But at first you're right. You want somebody to be like assuring you you're doing it okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing that for people. And I was saying, if you need some extra hand holding, you can call me up. And so what I would do is get in a call with somebody that would tell me what they're trying to achieve. And we would just go from scratch and walk all the way through. Okay, first you do this and this. And there may be questions. Well, so what are we doing right now? Or how does this work? Or why is this important? And we would just go through all those points and get the person to the point where they're like, oh, I'm comfortable doing this. Okay. Now that I've walked you through it, repeat back to me, do it. Now you do it again and do it without my help. And we'll see that you get it and you understand. And so I was doing that and I couldn't keep up. There's so many people that were trying to book and I've only got so many hours in the day. And while I was very appreciative of so many people being so interested in learning, I realized that I couldn't do it on my own. And so myself and Mike put together this company called Bitcoin Mentor. And effectively, we built a team of some of the best educators we've ever seen in Bitcoin. We put out the word and asked people who wants to be a Bitcoin mentor, who wants to coach people through this kind of stuff. We had 350 people apply to be part of the team, and we put them through the gamut and we whittled it down to 16. And so we really put them through the ringer. There was a series of interviews. People had to teach me how to do stuff, like come into an interview and pretend that I was brand new and didn't know how to do anything. And so we've really gotten it down, and now we've got this amazing team, all with a ton of different skills, and they can basically walk you through anything that you want, whether it be hot wallets on your phone, hardware, multi-sig, running a node, home mining. It's just pretty much anything that you could imagine, they can walk you through it. And you can even do packages where you start from scratch and work up to a certain point, or work through a series of sessions on a more complicated topic. So we're kind of basically building an ongoing curriculum that you can always, if you want to, partake into a new learning track as we release them, as we get introduced new technologies, because Bitcoin is always evolving. There's always something new, always something cool to learn about. So it's really for anybody from absolute beginner that just really needs those bare bones. How do I get Bitcoin? How do I use it? How do I secure it? To people that are like, now I'm curious about a node. What is that? How do I do that? Why is it worth doing? Or I want to learn about mining. How do I set up one of those BitAxe machines so I've got a forever lottery ticket sitting at home? We can kind of take them through everything, and it's been going really well. We launched a few months ago, and people are coming through the door, and they're walking away happy and better educated.
So I booked the session, and is it like a Zoom, the equivalent of a Zoom call, where someone's on with me? So if I want to set up a cold card or the Aqua wallet or like a Blue wallet, whatever it is, then the person's on with me, kind of walking me through, then maybe leaving me with some homework or something afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So you can expect to come into that session, with just all the questions that you have, as you set it up. So you can book like a 15-minute discovery session, and that's meant to sit down with somebody who will say, okay, so what are you looking to learn? What questions do you have? Where are you currently at? Basically to kind of map out where you are and where you'd like to be, and then recommend what you might want to book for. And if it sounds like that's up your alley and that's where you want to go with it, then you would proceed with your actual session or series of sessions based on what you're looking to do. And at that point, you dive right into whatever you're looking to learn. Okay, let's sit down. Let's set up your Aqua wallet. Let's test some transactions. Let's make sure you've backed it up. Let's delete the wallet and restore it and make sure that your money is still there. Mm-hmm. All of those things.
I think this is so awesome that you're doing this. I can't imagine how you must feel going from launching your YouTube channel to going over, 100,000, 200, 300,000, now teaming up with Mike to do Bitcoin Mentor, bring other people in to share this kind of stuff. You've really seen your history in Bitcoin now is quite it's super insightful. Like, I can't imagine the perspective that you must have. And then for anyone listening to this, anyone that's going to come out to our event on Saturday, October 5th, we have Ben coming out to do, you're not going to just give a talk, like you're committed to do a workshop. I don't say committed like there's some kind of serious thing, but I'm saying that because I know a lot of people want to see Bitcoin transactions. Yeah. We've done some education. Bull Bitcoin has been kind enough to do a bunch of webinars with some of our clients, but I think now some want to actually see some transactions live. So you're going to come out and we just talked about it. It's not like some big plan here, but like you're actually going to, you think, be able to do some live transactions in front of people.
I can absolutely do it. And I'll even one up that and say, like, we'll do some live demos in front of people so people can see, but I would love to have people coming up, like as we do the demo afterwards, come up and let's do some test transactions, send a few bucks back and forth just to see how it works and play around. Like I love those interactions. And
for anyone listening, the reason that we're doing this, we're obviously, my brother and I got into Rockstar because real estate, we didn't know about 2008. We launched the business. There was no Bitcoin. We were using real estate as the hard asset to become the banker and kind of, outpace the debasement and the inflation. And now with Bitcoin, we just really believe that a bunch of our clients or anyone really listening, I mean, you can have some income properties and stuff, but there's got to be, to me, some percentage, or at least consider. and do some due diligence of adding some allotment to Bitcoin to your life. Whatever percentage that is for you. Like, Ben, you're obviously living on a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
Some other people, maybe it's, I don't know, like if it's going to be 2%, 5%, 10%, 50%, 80%, whatever it is. I really think this is important to be able to live your life on your terms. I mean, this is the sovereign money that I've been kind of looking for. We were using a clunky solution like real estate to try to do this in the best possible way. Now there's this elegant solution called Bitcoin that I think is worthy of everyone's attention. So I'm thrilled and honored that you're going to come out. We've had Jeff Booth come out and speak before, who did scare the crap out of everybody during the talk. He scared in the best possible way. You know the way Jeff does it, so politely.
Yeah.
He's like,
so calm and measured.
So calm. At one point, he told everyone in the room, it was like 1,000 people, and he's like, everyone in this room is going to vote for the thing that will make everything worse. You know, he's like, everyone here is going to vote for lower interest rates and do all this kind of stuff. Everyone's just kind of looking at Jeff, but he's just laying this down. You can see everyone thinking. So to get him out there and to have you now come out here and share this, Ben, it's a big deal for us. And we're talking with Mike to have some Bitcoin mentors there. I don't know if that's going to, I know this is all pretty new, but if we can have some Bitcoin mentors there, that'll be pretty cool as well. So I think we're going to be able to pull that off. Awesome. So yeah, Ben, thanks for doing this. I wanted to wrap up with just this: your time management with all the content that you're doing. Are you? Is there something like how many hours? I'm just curious. Is it a weekly schedule that you're running for yourself on new content?
Yeah. So my schedule typically is I try to get a new tutorial out there every single week at some point between Monday and Wednesday. Sometimes that runs into the weekend if I have some extra work to do, if it's a bit more of a difficult one to tackle. But then I also have 2 live shows. So I do a live show on Thursday, and that's kind of all the news items of the week that's happened within Bitcoin. I've got a co-host named Nico that comes on and does that with me. So he kind of does the major news items, and I do the tech updates. And then on Friday I do a panel show, which you've been a part of.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and it was a blast. So I do a panel show every Friday, and I just have different Bitcoin guests, and there's typically, including myself, there's 4 of us, and it's called Why Are We Bullish? And so each one of us brings a reason why we're currently excited about Bitcoin. It could be some new development, some news item, some personal experience, an app, a device, whatever it may be. And we just come and each one of us gets a chance to rant on our exciting topic, and then we all kind of discuss it, and then we rotate to the next person. So it's just a kind of a fun, what are we buzzing about this week kind of show. And I love that show. And
you just keep like a notebook of future tutorials that you want to get to so that you're walking into Monday with some idea of what you're hitting? Yeah. Usually I've got an extensive list. And one of the things that people used to say to me early on when I started the channel, you're doing Bitcoin tutorials. You're going to run out of stuff to do, aren't you? Well, the list has grown longer and faster than I can make tutorials, for sure. There's so many new cool things coming out. It's impossible to cover. Okay, and I'm just curious, because we create content in our business. When you kind of screw up on a tutorial, I think recently you shared something somewhere I saw that you're like, holy shit, I just realized 3 hours went out the window. If you ever hit that and waste 3 hours, or something that's already Wednesday, you're walking to Thursday, Friday, do you just miss the odd week entirely and just live with it mentally, or do you just kind of work through the night? Sometimes you got to miss a week because you don't want to rush these things, right? You don't want to give bad information. And again, things are always shifting and you can't be perfect, but like I want to try and give as good a quality of a tutorial on any topic that I'm doing as I can. And so sometimes it's just, fact of the matter is that sometimes it doesn't work out and you got to kind of shift it to the following week. And usually by Wednesday, I know if it's going to happen or not. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But, I by and large try and get out one every single week. Yeah, got it. No, Nick and my brother and I have studied marketing a long time. And there's this principle of just consistency, in that, like, anyone who puts out content consistently automatically develops trust with people, because even if people are not paying attention to Ben for 2 years, if you got their attention for a moment and 2 years later they see you're still putting out videos, there's something to that consistency that naturally breeds trust. And I feel like after you doing this for years, you've just earned that place in this space to the highest degree. So I just want to compliment you on that, because I know how much work just watching all your content. Like, for example, when I was going through some of your hardware wallet stuff, for me to go through the video took, it's like maybe a 45-minute video. It took me like 3 hours over 2 days or 6 hours, because I'm pausing, rewinding. Never mind for you to make the video. How long that must have taken, right? So like, I'm just observing, trying to keep up with you, for you to learn the stuff brand new and then make videos on it. I just want to thank you for everything you've done. Like, I've watched many of your videos and they've really guided me through some of the technical things that I was just clueless about. But because of your videos, I got into hot wallets and hardware wallets, and I run my own node, all because of the things that you've put out on YouTube completely for free. So just thank you. And if there's anything we can do to continue to support your journey, we want to. So Ben, thanks for doing everything you're doing, man.
Well, thanks for the kind words. And again, it's, the main things that always make, again, 8 years of doing the channel worth it is when there's something to, rather than somebody coming up and saying, oh, I loved your silly prank video that you made. Somebody coming up and saying, hey, I went through that tutorial you made and I learned a valuable skill, that makes it hit home a lot harder and makes it much more rewarding when I see people learning and curious, and it makes me happy. And I'm also very happy to see other educators start to step up and do similar things. And that's more than I could ever ask for, is people try to emulate and improve upon what I've done in the past, because I think education is incredibly important, especially in and around what we're all trying to do: escape the bad money and preserve the fruits of our labor in a very self-sovereign way.
Yeah, technology is disruptive, and you're kind of teaching everyone how to use the technology to disrupt the establishment. I just want to share one quick story here that's a little silly, but I think it does tie into what we've been discussing. I mentioned I was in Florence over the summer. We did a bit of a history tour, and they're talking about the Medici family in Florence and how the Medici family and the merchants of Florence dominated textiles, and they were able to dye material much better than many other people in Europe. And they just dominated that to such a degree that they became really wealthy, all the merchants in Florence. But the technology then evolved where people outside of Florence could start to do what they had a monopoly on, and they lost some of their power in selling those types of textiles and dyes. And it was the technology that disrupted the establishment. And it was really weird that the government, and influenced by the Medici family, which I didn't like to hear this, the Florentine government, with the influence of the Medici family, started to tax people's properties and introduce property taxes, because they were losing tax revenue because of the technology that disrupted their core business. Yeah. Other cities around Europe started doing what they were doing, and they started taxing people on different things, one of them being their property. And I just thought, oh my gosh, has history just not repeating? But with what you're introducing with technology disrupting the current establishment, to me is just like another evolution of technology taking down what a monopoly held. Yeah. I'm stumbling over my words here a little bit, Ben. I'm blaming the jet lag. But anyway, just listening to that made me think, man, you're doing it. Like you're literally at the forefront, teaching all of us how to use the technology to disrupt the establishment. Is that not mind-blowing?
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. And every time I see somebody tackle another mental hurdle and go, oh, I get that now, it's soul food.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, congrats on that. So Ben, thank you for doing this. I don't think you ever want to talk about price or price predictions. Anything you want to say on the next year price I know this is just ridiculous. This is just a fun thing. This is not like Bitcoin's going to do this, but do you see any, I'm just saying it because we're at a time where you can see the global liquidity might start to turn on again. You can feel the taps coming. Anything you want to throw out there? End of year, end of 2025?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm trying to, I'm trying to stay humble, but I will also say that we're at a pretty interesting turning point. I mean, first of all, look at how well Bitcoin fared in the face of everything that happened over the past few years in terms of maintaining purchasing power, and look at how well Bitcoin is even faring just this year. I will say that Bitcoin has never in its history hit a new all-time high prior to the halving, which is the cut in half of the issuance of new coins. And for the first time this year, it hit a new all-time high before the halving. And historically, that didn't happen until a year to a year and a half after the halving. So if we still have yet to see our bull cycle, which we barely, I feel like we're just getting started, in the face of likely rate cuts, in the face of, I'm guessing, whatever flavor of QE they give us this time, because like they always they don't want to say they're doing it again, but they're doing it again. There's always going to be more dollars. There's always going to be the same amount of Bitcoin or less if people are not careful with their keys. And so I think this could be a very unique next year and a half because there's a lot of things. I like how careful
you're being with your words. I love it.
No, I mean, what I'll say to everybody is take a look back historically at what has happened in the 12 to 18 months after each halving to the price. And then, perhaps it will be some flavor of that.
Yeah. You're such a veteran. And me at just over 4 years, I feel like I'm a veteran now. I'm like, oh, yeah. So what are you talking about with this price grid? That's nothing, So for you, since 2014, 16, that era, for you just must be laughing at all of this. But anyway, Ben, thank you. Thank you for this, man. Really, really appreciate it. And I guess the best place to find you, for someone who wants to check out what you're doing, could you just hand out one of the places or multiple?
Yeah. So easiest place to find the tutorials, just go on YouTube and search BTC sessions, and there's just tons of material there that's been around forever. I'm pretty active on X, so just at BTC sessions. And in terms of websites, I would just, if you're curious about learning and you're curious about sitting down with somebody, head over to bitcoinmentor.io, and you can get started there and look to book some sessions. Should the free tutorials online not be scratching that itch, then you can have somebody personally walk you through it.
Awesome. Ben, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.